for the, well, I say good afternoon to everyone, and thank you guys so much for joining us for our product webinar. Today we have Varigard LLC, and we have Mr. Ben Kilbourne and Mr. Alan Johnston, who's going to introduce themselves in their own way and also tell us about the products that they sell and the wonderful savings that you're going to experience should you use those bids. So we want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule this afternoon. These sessions are being recorded, so if you need to go back later on and watch it, you can. And also, if you need to get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, all you have to do is just send in a request to Ms. Regina Mitchell or Ms. Wanda Harville, and then we'll be able to accommodate your request. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to these two fine gentlemen so we can get started and see what we can learn today.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Matthews and Ms. Mitchell and Ms. Harville for making this all possible. We really appreciate having this forum to tell everybody about our product. And once again, my name is Ben Kilbourne. I'm the Vice President of Business Development for Varigard. We're one of the 6 air purification vendors, and we are based down here in Foley, Alabama. We really want to tell you all we can about our product during this webinar, and I'll be your contact person from start to finish. Just want to be able to put a face with the name, and feel free to reach out to me by phone or email at any point. We are happy to help you out if at the end of this presentation, if you like our product but you're not sure exactly, well, how many of these units do I need, given our particular situation. Happy to get on the phone with you, do a free consultation, and figure out what we need to do to fit your particular needs and keep you and your staff and your students, your teachers, or your patrons, everyone safe. So I wanted to start off by letting you know that I think you're going to find this webinar very enlightening, because you're going to be learning today about our product, which utilizes various what are known as active air purification techniques. And that is something that we think totally sets us apart from the other options out there. We're the only active air purification product that's offered. That should make things easy for you. Versus the other product options are all basically what are known as passive Hepa air filters. And you're going to learn a lot more about that today from Alan Johnston. And speaking of Alan, I feel like we're extremely fortunate today to have Alan with us. He is the man when it comes to understanding all this kind of stuff. He is the founder and chief technical officer for Green Tech Environmental, which is the actual manufacturer of the product. And Alan, he is a real pioneer and giant in the air purification industry. He's been doing it for over 20 years now, and founded Green Tech back in 2009. And they are based in Johnson City, Tennessee, just to our north. So Alan is probably the foremost expert in the world on these technologies and the product which he designed. So he's gonna walk through all the technologies, what they are, how they work, all the ins and outs of the product, and answer any technical questions you may have. But he's probably the world's foremost expert on this product that we're offering. So with that, I'll just turn things over to you, Alan.
Well, Ben, thank you. It's great to be with you, and thanks everyone for joining in today. Ben, I don't know how to respond to your very nice introduction today. it's great to have a chance to talk about what is my life's passion, which is air purification. Just by way of introduction, I have, and we'll show you in just a moment a little bit of my background career-wise, but as Ben had said, I've been involved with air purification for over 20 years, and really that started with a desire to better understand why is it that indoor air quality is such a problem. The US EPA tells us that the indoor air is 5 to 10 times worse than outdoor air, and that's in spite of everything that we do as humans to pollute the outdoor air. But there's something about the outdoors that purifies itself in a way that keeps it cleaner, even with all the automobiles and things that are going on, than it does with the indoor air. Understanding that, there was a situation that occurred in my life in 1998 where my mother, the healthiest person that I had ever known, can't remember her being sick a day in her life until she, as a school teacher of 40 years, moved from a building that was built in 1901, where the air flowed through the school just when the wind would blow, to a energy efficient school with very few windows that turned out to be a sick building that was infested with mold from before it was ever completed in the construction process. And the ventilation system was very poor because back in the 80s, there was an effort to save energy in a way that had never been done before because of the high cost of energy that for those of us that remember back in the mid 70s and the oil embargo, we all had an awakening to the fact that never ending energy was not something that we could count on. So she went from being an extremely healthy woman to 6 months after moving into the school had to leave her career as a teacher because of ill health, and ultimately never fully recovered from that and passed away. The doctor said it's environmental issues, and so that is what drives me every day to find solutions. Not just like a prescription drug that takes care of the symptoms. I want to find a solution to this problem that we have. I'm going to go ahead and share with you a presentation that I have that's going to step us through today with some of the concepts that we'll be sharing with you, because there is a big difference between traditional air purification, that I use the term much like a prescription drug that can solve some of the problems, but in reality, it takes care of dealing with what's in front of us and not what is the root cause. Ben, can you see the slide okay? Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. This is all about Pure Air by Green Tech. That's our trademark for the technology that you're going to be seeing today. As Ben mentioned, I'm the founder of Green Tech Environmental some almost 13 years ago, as well as the Chief Technical Officer. Introduce you briefly to Brandon Taylor, our CEO, and Jeff Kreidwise, our Chief Revenue Officer, that have been working with me to grow this business and expand into areas that we can have a dramatic impact on the way people can live their lives indoors in a healthy way. Our technology has several advantages. It cleans the air and surfaces throughout a classroom or a office space or a home, not just bringing the problem to the solution, but bringing our solution to the problem. We utilize technology that nature uses outdoors. What we do is no different than when you step outdoors. And it's interesting. One of the things that has happened over the course of the last 30 or 40 years is that hospital-acquired infections have been a real concern. People going into the hospital for a procedure and end up catching something that they didn't come in with. Those are called HAIs, hospital-acquired infections. And to combat that, one of the things that the hospital industry has noticed is the more fresh air you bring in from outdoors, the fewer infections that they have. And one of the comments that is made I think naively, is to say the solution to pollution is dilution. But in the reality, what is outdoors, there's something in that air that sanitizes, that we bring in the indoor environment. And when you really drill down on what that is, it's all a series of hydrogen and oxygen based compounds that are able to cleanse the air of pollutants such as mold, bacteria, and viruses. And it can even break down chemical compounds that we introduce to the indoor environment through cleaning solutions, through paint, through glues that are in carpet or manufactured wood products. Nature's purification is very much key here. We're able to not just trap, but kill, inactivate is the technical term, mold, mildew, bacteria, viruses, and odors. We are able to remove allergens from the breathing space. And of course, if it's out of your breathing space, it's not entering your body and not troubling you. And then ease of use is also very important in that equation. Let's talk about the traditional air purification technologies. And I'm going to use two terms. Ben introduced the fact that we are an active technology, and that's in contrast with traditional purification that is passive in nature. And the predicament with that is that as you are exhaling and water droplets exit your mouth or nose, and on that, if you are infected, in today's world, we seem to always want to be talking about SARS-CoV-2 for obvious reasons. So on that water droplet is, if you're infected with COVID-19, that is on that water droplet. And it's going to exit your mouth and start to traverse the room. And depending upon the airflow, maybe you're doing what the CDC recommends and turning over the air in the classroom or office space 3 times an hour. It's going to pull that air into a filter. And that's great. And filters will trap viruses. They'll certainly trap mold spores. Those are large. And a lot of bacteria can be trapped in that filter. Although one of the challenges with filters is they become actually petri dishes on their own because they're unable to inactivate or kill that microorganism. But that's a side point, because ultimately, at least we're getting it out of our breathing space. But the problem is that virus moves across the room. Who else is in the way between the person who is infected and that filter, as this diagram shows? And that's the challenge that we have in classrooms, is that the problem is how many other people are going to get infected in the process. So that's the predicament. The active air purification result is that we are not bringing the problem to our solution. We're taking our solution to the problem. We're creating this environment that is rich with these natural oxidation products, the same ones that are created in nature through sunlight, taking oxygen and hydrogen-based compounds and combining them. One of the ones that we create, and it's not that I have designed a product that can create just this. This is a natural process that occurs through sunlight. All we have done here at Green Tech, and that was actually discovered by NASA, is replicating this natural process where the sun is the engine and compounds in the air create this reaction called photocatalysis. So we're creating this equilibrium in the space. Everywhere the air can get to, there are natural oxidizers that are immediately going to work, shown on this slide as the blue dots, going to work on whatever it might be, whether it's bacteria, whether it's a virus, whether there's mold spores that are coming off of mold that might be growing down in the carpet. We're attacking it down in the carpet, we're attacking it in the air, everywhere the air can get to. So we provide a much healthier environment, an environment that can, even in the wake of someone being infected, can reduce the potential for spread. To kind of give you an analogy that I like, I can't lay claim to this. One of our partners brought this up, and it's a great one. And that's a predicament of how to catch a mouse. We all use traps like the Victor trap there shown, and that works. But the challenge is the mouse needs to find its way to the trap. It has to be attracted to whatever bait is there, and it has to take that bait in a way that will trip the trap in order to catch the mouse. And that's one way to go about catching a mouse. But another way is a cat. A cat doesn't wait for the mouse to come and sit in front of it and say, here I am. The cat tracks down that mouse and ultimately stops it where it is at. And in the equation of air purification, green tech is the active purifying technology. We are the cat in this catch the mouse equation, that wherever the air can get to, we're able to go to work on the problem. So you've got things like, as I've said, it's mold, bacteria, and viruses, which you refer typically to as microbes, or deadly microbes are referred to as pathogens. Certainly SARS-CoV-2 is a pathogen and has been what's behind this pandemic. But there's also other issues. There's VOCs, which can be a big issue, especially in classroom environments. It's more of an issue for very young or very old, and it can impact the ability to learn. We've learned a tremendous amount of what the tens of thousands of chemicals that can be found in the air, what it can do to people and their cognitive ability. So VOCs are very important, odors, and then there's particulates. And particulates can be active, living organisms, again, mold, bacteria, and viruses. They can be inert particles that's just think of as dust. Most of the particles in the air are little tiny specks of skin cells. But all of those can be dealt with, some of them with passive technologies like filters, but others not so much. And green tech solution is our active air purification. If I've talked about hydrogen peroxide, and think of it this way, and here's what happens outside in nature, and here's what happens indoors with this photocatalytic technology. You take water vapor, which, as we know from middle school chemistry, is H2O, 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen atom. And then you combine that with an oxygen atom, which is O2, put it through this process called active radiant catalysis. This is the trademark term we have for our technology. And through a process of molecular dissociation, meaning we break the molecule apart, we can break oxygen apart, we can even break water vapor apart, and it reforms as H2O2, which is hydrogen peroxide. It also can form HO, hydroxyls, or HO2, which are hydroperoxides. There's a number of ways that these two basic building blocks that we find in nature that are key to life on this planet are able to combine and are able to oxidize contaminants in a way that even disinfecting type products are not able to accomplish. And it's done through this active radiant catalysis cell shown in the bottom right of your screen, where air passes through, where we have a high intensity UV lamp shining on our proprietary catalyst made up of titanium dioxide and other rare metals. And it's able to convert this water vapor into lots of other hydrogen and oxygen based compounds. Now, we don't use just one technology, and neither does nature. This photocatalytic process is certainly something that is used, that exists in nature because of the sun being the ultraviolet light that activates catalysts. But there's other things as well. Activated oxygen, for instance, is something that is found outside, also generated by the sun, where you have 3 oxygen molecules instead of 2. It's O3. It's at very low levels. It is effective. It is what's found outside everywhere you go. Ionization is another one, which are just electrical charges, which ultimately charge other particles, causing particles to come together and stick together and clump and fall out of the air. It's what gets smoke out of the air outdoors, and what can, using the same kind of electrical charges, can get not only smoke, but any particles at all to clump, especially ultrafine particles that float around for weeks and months and even years, to get those to clump, gain mass, and fall to the ground. They get out of our breathing space so that we're not inhaling, especially in the case of those particles are living organisms like mold, bacteria, and virus. And then plasma generation, which is just basically both positive and negative charges, which creates what the scientists refer to as a plasma, which is also able to interact with compounds in the air and form different oxygen and hydrogen-based compounds. So it's a combination of technologies. What you find are companies that are utilizing maybe one of these active technologies, like bipolar ionization has become very popular, although it has tremendous limitations on its own. But by combining them, what we have found, and actually researchers have also discovered, is that combining them together, what you end up with is maybe two of these technologies together. 1 + 1 doesn't just equal 2. In some cases, it equals 5. In other words, the improvement in performance is more than double by putting two of them together than if they were added just incrementally. Of the 6 air purification device options, the PACA, your members have, that you're looking at, the Pure 3000, the product we're talking about here, is the only one that uses this active air purification. All of the others utilize passive Hepa and as their air purification technology. In some cases, these products have a UV light inside, but that's passive in nature. We'll get to that in just a moment. But the other ones are all passive. Pure 3000 is the only active technology available to you. To dive a little bit more into our ARC technology, one of the things that I wanted to mention, I am an engineer by education. I'm a graduate of Purdue University. I've worked in the aerospace industry for the first 15 years of my career, working on anti-ballistic missile systems to protect our country. And that was a great career for me. But I never was as passionate about what I'm doing as I have been with air purification, one driven by the situation by my mother. I'd love to have been the one that discovered photocatalytic oxidation or photocatalysis, as it's referred to, but NASA is actually the one that discovered it in conjunction with the University of Wisconsin, because as NASA does so well, when they run into a challenge, they don't stop until they find a solution. We have a lot of products that we use on a regular basis thanks to NASA. Velcro is a great example. But NASA, in order to maintain the International Space Station, they needed to grow food on this space station. And most importantly, for a Mars mission, there's no way they could take enough food for a 5-year round trip. And so growing food in a spacecraft was important, but there was one hurdle they were unable to overcome, and that was the formation of ethylene gas. It's something that plants give off, and it's similar to you and I giving off carbon dioxide. If it builds up, carbon dioxide will kill us. Ethylene gas will actually kill plants. And they had to find a way to get rid of it. There was no filter that could eliminate this gas. So they set out on a mission to find a solution. And what they ultimately discovered was that high intensity light shining on a photocatalyst like titanium dioxide created electron holes that as the gas came into contact with it, it would break it down. And it would break down not only ethylene gas, but literally tens of thousands of other chemical compounds. What we have been able to do is to take that to another level that allows us to produce a plasma coming off of this photocatalytic cell that you see there, to be able to create something that actively goes out and cleans the air as well. But the foundation of this technology was discovered by NASA. It's used in the space station today. It's integrated into the Mars vehicle so that plants can be grown. But what they have found is it also helps in breaking down other compounds and keeping the space station safe, not only for plants, but also for the astronauts. And this air and moisture as it passes through is really key in the formation of these oxidizers, because water vapor, which is very plentiful, if you're especially down in Alabama, you've got more than enough water vapor in the air, known as humidity. So that's a plentiful molecule. But as we break that apart and get hydrogen and oxygen atoms and they reform into these other oxidizers are able to break down and destroy contaminants such as mold, bacteria, and viruses, and volatile organic compounds, are the chemicals that we use, from cleaning supplies to things that are all in the air. So ultimately, our technology is rooted in NASA and the space program. There are people that ask the question of me frequently, and I remember getting an email just a few months ago from one of our employees here that works in our manufacturing department here in Johnson City, Tennessee, saying, my sister is pregnant, she's high risk, and I wanted to get her an air purifier, and I know you say it's safe, but could you just let me know? I need you to really be honest with me. Will it be safe for her, because she is immune compromised and she's at risk? And my response back was, I understand the question and appreciate your love for your sister and your concern, but our product is absolutely safe, in the same way that it's safe to go outside on a clean, crisp day, void of pollution, because what we create is no different than what nature creates outdoors. And that's what keeps the outdoors clean. We're just bringing it indoors. The indoors contamination really didn't start until we sealed up our buildings. As Dr. James Marsden at Kansas State University said to me, we sealed our buildings with deadly precision. We blocked that natural purification from coming in. So it should be no surprise that in the 80s, the term sick building syndrome emerged, when we started recirculating 100% of the air and not bringing any fresh air in. We don't have to give up, though, on those advances we've made in energy consumption. We can provide that same technology that nature uses, but provide it artificially indoors in a lot of ways. And the Pure 3000 incorporates all of these technologies in a unit that's easily moved around. It's plug and play, no installation required. A very common technology that's being recommended today, combining filtration, which there's nothing wrong with filtration. In fact, I encourage high quality filtration in every HVAC system. As we clump particles together, it's great if you can trap them in a filter rather than just have them fall to the ground. But another technology that's often recommended is ultraviolet lights. But that is passive in nature, and it comes with a lot of ifs when we look at it as an equation. You will be able to inactivate a microbe, a virus particle, bacteria, mold, if it comes by the UV light close enough, if it goes by slow enough, if you have a strong enough CT dose of energy on that. Otherwise, if it's going by too fast or too far away, the microbe's going to get a little bit of a tan and keep right on going. So UV lights, although they have an efficacy of 99.99%, that's only if all of those questions are answered positively. It's close enough, slow enough to be able to go by and receive that high enough CT dose. So in reality, UV lamps are not sufficient to be able to cleanse the indoor environment. It's only going to take care of what goes by them, which is the majority of particles don't. And even more importantly, what about everything on surfaces, on school desks, on tables, doorknobs? Remember, we with the advanced oxidation products, we are affecting everything, everywhere the air can get to. So the Pure Air 3000 unit that we're talking about incorporates 4 technologies: our photocatalytic technology called ARC, active radiant catalysis. We have unipolar ionization. We also have an activated oxygen, which is a very, very low level of ozone, which in normal mode is not used, but we have that available for when the classroom is shut down at night, to be able to run it for a short time for an extra deep clean mode, and then also electrostatic filtration. It is quiet, user-friendly, low power consumption, a lot of great features that I have spent well over a decade working to improve upon. We're on our 16th generation of this product just in the last 12 years. And so consistently making improvements to the product. And it's during the workday, we're able to purify the air with these AOPs. At night, we're able to deep clean when nobody is present with the ozone, as well as utilizing our active radiant catalysis and our ionization technology. Some of the specifications, there's a nice shot of the back of the unit that has our ARC cell, which you can see by the honeycomb. That, by the way, the honeycomb gives us 16 times more surface area than a standard just flat cell, which some other companies would have utilized. And that's what gives us the added power. But some of the specifications that are there, 12.5 pounds, not a heavy unit. We do mount it up high, recommend on the top of a bookcase or putting a bracket. A speaker bracket works very well to get it up high so that we're blowing out the ionization and the purification over the top so that it comes down and treats the entire room. We never put it down low. It's always positioned up high. We have test data that proves the efficacy. MRSA on surfaces, 95% reduction. And by the way, these tests were done with a product that we built specifically for the hospital industry that goes into the ducting, but it's the same ARC cell technology, our same proprietary catalytic coating, the same honeycomb structure, the same UV lamp. Bacteria on surface, 99.31. By the way, MRSA is one of the hardest microbes to inactivate because it develops kind of a shell on top of it that has to be broken through. And then fungi or mold, 99.64 reduction. Specific things like VRE, norovirus, which is very similar structure to COVID, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, TRI is another one, H1N1, influenza, again, EPA acceptable surrogate for proving if we can kill H1N1, then it would translate into killing SARS-CoV-2, and then MS2, which is another virus. Very, very effective in terms of being able to reduce pathogens. So that's the end of my presentation. We'll have a chance for Q&A, but I'd like to pass it back over to Ben at this point for him to share a few things with you.
All right, well, thank you so much, Alan. Yeah, I just wanted to add a few points. One of the things you really need to keep in mind when you're deciding which air purification device to go with is, what is it going to cost you to maintain it? And in the case of these other options that are using the Hepa and other type filters, you're going to have to change these out on a regular basis. I mean, some of the options out there, they recommend that you change out the filters every 4 months. And just kind of going around and doing my research on the other options, I mean, you're looking at a couple $100 a year or more. And the analogy I like to use is it's kind of like buying a printer for your computer. they basically give you the printer, but you end up spending a fortune on ink cartridges. So it's sort of the same thing with HEPA filter devices. By comparison, all of our filters are washable. We also have a maintenance reminder, so it'll come on every, say, 30 to 45 days, tell you that the unit needs cleaning, and then you just open up the back of it. It's real easy to take them out, wash them, and then you're good to go again. The other point that Alan made is with the Pura 300, we're not only 3000 rather, we're not only cleaning the air, we're cleaning surfaces, and that's a huge part of the equation. Obviously, you know, with schools, you have desks and chairs, and you know, a lot of places where you have potential to pick up pathogens. And with these passive devices, they're only concerned with cleaning the air. They're not able to take a pathogen that's sitting on a desk and get it to come off of that surface, travel all the way across the room, and go into the filter. Versus with our active technologies, we're going out on these hydroxyl radicals, hydrogen peroxide. They're going out and actively cleaning all of these surfaces, you know, constantly. And then when you get to the end of the workday, you can choose what it's called the deep clean mode, and that's the ozone or activated oxygen. And you can set that for 2, 4, 6, or 8 hours, meaning so after hours you can basically nuke the room with ozone, and then by the time you come back the next day, the room has been deep cleaned, and then it'll automatically go back to its regular operating mode. Another consideration is the size of these things. A lot of the other options are a lot heavier, bulkier. Some of them are they range from 30 to 80 pounds. They're over 2 feet tall, and some of them even on casters. But I just want to show you by comparison. I mean, here's our unit right here. It's only about 1 foot tall, weighs about 11 pounds, and just real easy to deal with. As far as timing, it says there that we can deliver it to you within 10 days. That's really sort of a worst case scenario, because typically we're able to, or Green Tech is able to ship out the same day they receive a purchase order, or you know, if it's late in the day, it'd be the next day. But they have the ability to ship out several hundred units, and then it only probably takes about 3 days to arrive, especially since they're located in just one state over in Tennessee. And last but not least, we're the only Alabama-based vendor of the 6 options, and of course we take good care of all our customers, but we have a special place in our heart for our Alabama customers, and we're going to do everything we can to keep you happy. And if I need to get in my car and drive to see you, I'm happy to do so. And a lot of the other vendors are located much farther away in other parts of the country. So the next slide, please, Alan. Okay, so as far as the cost of the unit, normally we sell these units for $699, but we're offering PACA in Jefferson County a 25% discount off of the regular price. So that comes down to $529 each. We are happy to do net 30 terms if you'd like, or you can pay when right at the time of purchase. And of course, we're also including free shipping no matter how many units you order. As far as the warranty, normally Green Tech offers a 1-year warranty on the main unit, but again, wanting to make a more attractive offering to PACA members, we've extended that warranty to 3 years. So that should be a nice added benefit for you. The way you can purchase these units, we've set up a special landing page on our website. It's www.varigard.com/PACA. And what you can do is when you go to that page, which is set up especially for y'all, you'll see a form that you fill out that will give you the 25% discount. And this is a way for us to make sure that the people we're offering the discount to are PACA members or part of Jefferson County. And then once you fill out that form, you'll immediately receive an email that will ask you to activate your account and create a password. So as soon as you create a password, it will take you to the account where you can view products, and you'll see as you scroll down on the far right, you'll see the Purifier 3000 unit, and you'll see where it had the $699 price, but that's crossed out and it's being offered to you for $529. And another way you can go about it is you can go back to the Varigard.com/PACA website and go through the purchasing process. And when you get to checkout, I mean, you'll see that it's $699, but there's an option to log in. And once you log in again, it'll drop that price down to $529. Or if you want to do it the old fashioned way, you're welcome to email me or call me. And again, we're happy to provide any sort of consultation to make sure you have the number of units that you need to do the job, and there can be various factors. You know, if you're in schools, the classroom size, these units are able to purify anywhere from 250 up to 3,000 square feet. But depending on the number of students and the viral load, it may be that you need more than one unit. So we just want to make sure you are taken care of, and so we're happy to help you in any way we can to keep everyone safe. So next slide, please. And here's a slide that this was produced by Dr. Matthews and his team, just showing who the 6 air purification vendors are. There we are in the middle. There are 3 different price points. There's a $300 price point, $500 price point, and a $1,000 price point. And so we're squarely there in the middle. And you can also see from that slide my contact information. And I think that's about it, other than we're now ready to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, we want to open it up for questions. So if you guys want to type your question in, we can repeat it, or you can take your mic off and go ahead and announce who you are and ask the question that you want to ask. But I want to start off by saying how impressed I am with this presentation. I didn't know what to expect at first, but as he got going, I think he increased my vocabulary about 5%. With all the new terminologies and things like that. So I've got a lot to look up and really digest. But I was very impressed with the product, very impressed with the delivery of the information, and I hope you guys were too. I do want to start off by asking, is there a way you can apply more of your information to the school setting with what is actually required? Does your product exceed requirements that schools are trying to meet at this point? What has been your experience across the country and across the state?
I'll take that one. The requirements right now are all rooted in passive technologies. So many air turns, And I think air movement is always a positive thing. So generally, you're being asked by the CDC to have your HVAC system set up so that the air is turned over a minimum of 3 times per hour. In other words, 100% of the volume in cubic feet of the rooms that are tied to that HVAC system would go through the system once every 20 minutes. We're obviously, that's a separate requirement. What we're introducing is something that is going to be able to prevent infection in a way that just turning over the air in the room and putting it through a filter or having it passed by a UV lamp, what is not able to do. ASHRAE, which is the organization that is kind of the governing body over heating and ventilation and air conditioning, they have recognized the technology that we use, this photocatalytic technology, and have said that this, in fact, does provide for a way to reduce energy costs by reducing the amount of air exchanges. In other words, bringing air from outside as well as having to turn over the air in the room. But it is new enough, and there's a lot of studying that is going on that they have not come out with firm numbers as to what can be done. But what we are seeing is for those school systems that have implemented the technology, they have found have had great results, whether it's in the school, in the classroom, or in a vehicle. This photocatalytic technology used in the Pura 3000 absolutely reduces the opportunity of spread of infection. Prior to the pandemic, what we saw was reduced absenteeism by students. Anecdotal things like less Kleenex being used, absentee rates from staff, where obviously is monitored very closely by the school. We have hospitals that implemented the equipment just based upon reduced absenteeism by staff, which would be long before they were able to see reduced hospital-acquired infections. So.
Alan, I'll add to that. This is Tim Haywood with Green Tech in Johnson City. We have several school systems that have implemented this. We have testimonials from those school systems. They're happy to talk to you about them. We had in fact, a conference call just last week with a superintendent who was talking to a superintendent from Miami-Dade about how much they've enjoyed it and the results that they found with that. And if that's something that you'd like, I know that we have a lot of happy customers in schools that would be happy, and we can facilitate those conversations within schools, but also within the school bus companies that are helping the schools. And as Alan said, they're seeing things like fewer missed days and fewer call outs for sick days for both their teachers and their school bus drivers.
Thank you, Tim.
That was going to be my question is, so are you saying that you have sold some here in the state of Alabama where references can be used, or are you still trying to enter this market and establish yourself?
I don't believe we have any in Alabama, but we have several in other districts around the country.
Okay.
You're muted there, Ben. Ben, if you're, you need to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to add, while we haven't sold to schools in Alabama, we definitely have in surrounding states in Georgia and Mississippi. We did recently sell a bunch of these units to ALEA, which is the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, based in Montgomery, and they are the umbrella organization for 12 different law enforcement agencies within the state. So they're definitely on board with our technology and the 3000 unit.
And You used an acronym called ASHRAE. I've never heard of that. What does that stand for?
ASHRAE, Association of Heating, Refrigeration, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact, but it's
American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers.
Thank you, Tim. That's one acronym I don't have all the way down, but we are a member of ASHRAE, and that is the governing body over indoor air. So they're the ones that are looking at the HVAC manufacturers and setting standards. And with that, they have gotten into indoor air quality as well.
Okay. And we have another question. I don't know who's going to take this one. It said, is this compatible with the after-hours fogging sanitizing mist? And that's an application that we even use here at the courthouse.
Absolutely. It's not going to. It's only going to aid in that process. There's no conflict, in other words. So if you're doing fogging or using hydrogen peroxide liquid that becomes vaporized and using that as a sanitizer, that is the most common type of fogging. But there are others that uses quats or other types of antimicrobial compounds that get vaporized and that travel throughout the space. That's what airlines are using as well. But there is, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I as I lecture frequently, I'll talk about these UV robots that hospitals have been using for the last decade. And they're very high power UV, and they're on a base that I call it a Roomba base. It's this robot base that moves around the room to expose the surfaces to UV light, and it will inactivate. It gets close enough and it's powerful enough. It'll inactivate everywhere the light can get to. Of course, there's places where the light doesn't, but regardless, the challenge with that is that once that robot is moved out, or once you're done sanitizing, it may be clean at that moment, but as soon as the fogging process ends, the facility begins to become recontaminated. The great thing about this technology is at night you may get it to a very good baseline, very sanitized. Yet, as the students come in, they bring with them contamination. And that's what our product is doing. It's working 24/7 when the students are there and when they're not there. And so, as we say, if you already have protocols in place, don't stop those. This can add another layer of protection. And we have customers, for instance, meat packing plants that are very concerned about E. coli and listeria, deadly bacteria that if it gets into their meat, I mean, it's game over. They can be out of business. And we've proven to them, even with sterilizing their equipment every night with bleach water, you know, that we're able to provide an extra layer of protection, which is for them as insurance, because we were able to prove to them that we could actually kill bacteria that was still, even after all that work, was still in their facility. So it's not an issue at all if you've got other technologies at play. This can aid that as well.
Ben, did you catch that other question?
About cleaning and replacing the filter.
Yes.
Is this something that the maintenance staff has to do? So there is a cleaning process that can occur, and the maintenance staff is capable of doing that, and it's a very quick process. What we typically do is we could supply extra filters that can be used when they go into the room, they can just pull out the filter unit and put another one in, and then take it back to the maintenance room and clean them there, let them dry, and then have them set aside to be used as they go on. And so it's not a matter of having to take the filter out, go somewhere, wash it off, the electrostatic filter, and then bring it back. They can do this whole process very, very quickly. Typical time to service a unit, if you have the filter separate, to be able to put a replacement previously cleaned filter, you're looking at about 90 seconds, and from the time that you step up to the unit to the time that you're walking away. So it's a very fast process.
So on I guess, how often would you have to change the filter? Like, can this be something that maintenance can put on a schedule and say, hey, we need to go around every days and change? Because, these school buildings are really, really large.
Yes.
So how have you seen that done?
Well, the owner's manual is going to recommend monthly use. Now, it's all depends upon the environment. We've seen schools that have gotten by of doing it once every other month, so 6 times a year, to go in and that 90-second process, swap them out, and then they go back and do the cleaning of the rear filter and the plate that's in there. So even though we understand that schools spread out, you're going to have a lot of units, it is not going to be a significant additional work on the part of the maintenance department.
And I'm assuming that there is some sort of alarm or notification if the filter needs to be changed and nobody has gotten to it on the piece of equipment itself.
There is a reminder that comes up that it's time to change to clean the filter. It doesn't say change it, clean the filter. And there is the UV lamp. If that were to fail, there's a reminder on that as well that says replace. That's all on the LCD display.
Okay. You see that the newest question: any special chemicals needed for cleaning? If trapping potentially deadly pathogens is
decontamination of the filter, yes, needed. No, one of the things, first of all, we're creating these AOPs that are inactivating those. So it's obviously making those AOPs make their way through the unit itself and decontaminate the unit. Also, the longevity of a lot of the pathogens is not, in the environment that we create, is not significant. So that is not a concern that we have, nor have researchers that we've worked with had. Just because of, we do recommend wearing gloves. Now, as far as the cleaners, ammonia, first of all, it's just soap and water for the filter, but there's a ceramic plate that gets cleaned, and that we use either ammonia diluted in water, or white vinegar is another cleaner that is very good with that. So just depends on if they have white vinegar, would recommend that. It's a much more natural cleaner, but diluted ammonia is also fine. It may be something that the maintenance department would have readily available.
Okay. Are there any additional questions? These are really, really good questions. Really
Sure.
good. We still have a couple of minutes. This has been a really, really good product webinar session. I want to thank both of you and everyone who has been in attendance. I am very, very impressed with this product, and I hope that all of you PACA members or PACA partners will take advantage of it. And anytime you have to learn something new, sometimes we have to educate our bosses, so to speak, and that's a little bit of a hurdle. So I'm going to try to think of ways that we can make that easier. So Mr. Johnson, Mr. Kilborn, I'm going to be reaching out to you guys to see how can we help our PACA partners make that learning curve a little bit easier. So I don't know if you have short short videos that can be shared, because this one right here, while it's very informative, it's also, it's an hour. So I'm not sure if our PACA partners can take this to their bosses and say, hey, I need you to watch this hour-long video. So I'm wondering if there's a short video clip that can really drive home the salient points of your product that will encourage their bosses that, hey, this is a good idea.
And we do have a technology video on our ARC, which is just about 2 or 3 minutes long, which kind of hits the high points of what we've covered here that would be useful. And I'd really wanted to play it during this presentation, but unfortunately over the web, the video gets a little bit jumpy, but that's a good, it's on Vimeo. We can send the link for that you could send out.
Okay, excellent. Okay, if there are no more questions, I'm going to ask the people who really do all the work, and that's Ms. Mitchell and Ms. Harville, if they have anything to say. Ms. Mitchell, she raised her hand, and then Ms. Harville, if you wave your hand and they can see who you are. We want to thank them for all the hard work that they do behind the scenes, and they don't always get enough credit for what they do. So if there is nothing else, I want to thank everyone for attending, and know that the video link will be available shortly, and we will send it out to everyone. And then also we will do the same by request, or will we send the PowerPoints out automatically?
We send it out.
The PowerPoints will be sent out automatically also. So we will be available to field any additional questions after this. So I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I'll go home and I'll go to sleep, and then I'll wake up with 2 or 3 more questions. If you come back with questions tomorrow, please go ahead and shoot them directly to Mr. Kilborn, and he will be glad to field any questions that you have. I know he's ready and waiting, and he probably won't even go to sleep. He'll be waiting on your questions tonight. So thank you. You guys got anything else you want to say?
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
The embedded video that you sent earlier.
Yes.
Is something that we could send out to?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, so there's 3 things you'll get. So this has been a very, very good session. Do you guys have any final words before we sign off?
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing you at our next product webinar presentation. And thank you for all that you have done for us in the matter of support, and we will continue to try to support you guys. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.